Welcome back to the Realty Funnels Podcast. I'm Kevin Cahill, and I'm delighted today to welcome Dr. Ryan Chaw, who is a real estate investor in the Sacramento, California area, and he has an amazing story to share. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. And I'm excited to be on the show.
Delighted to have you. So, I love your story and I want you to share it. I think it's really inspiring. You got interested in residential real estate rentals and you're able to replace what is a really significant income with the cash flow from those properties in a real quick time frame. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so first off, I'm a pharmacist turned real estate investor. My grandpa bought some properties back in the San Francisco Bay Area back in the 50s, and those appreciated like crazy. He was able to use the rental income to help cover part of my college tuition and my brother's as well. So I realized that real estate's one of the best ways to create generational wealth. So I wanted to get started as soon as possible. As soon as I graduated in 2016 or 2015, I started working a lot of overtime. I would work these double shifts where I would, work from 7:30 a.m. to about 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at night. And I saved up a whole bunch of capital and I was able to buy my very first house in 2016. It was a $262,000 house in Stockton, California. And I was able to rent out by the room in order to make more cash flow compared to the normal rental. I'll typically actually be able to double or triple the amount of rental income on each house that I bought. So the first house had a lot of problems, and we could talk about that. I lost over $30,000 on it. But then the second one did a little bit better. The third one was a little bit better. And I continued to buy one property a year until after about 6 years, I had enough cash flow from the rentals to replace my pharmacist income. And then from there, I decided, okay, at the age of 31, I can go ahead and retire. When I hit 31, I went ahead and retired. I had a huge retirement party, and then I continued to just keep reinvesting that cash into real estate. And so I bought a few out of state as well. But it all started off with just trying to work hard, buy one property a year, and then using this specific niche, unique strategy, I was able to scale a lot faster compared to other real estate investors my age or other real estate investors out there.
So this renting by the room, it sort of reminds me of my days in college
Hmm.
where I rented a room. It was like a fraternity house annex. The
Right.
guys were gone for the summer, and so I rented a room for a semester and had access to the bathroom, had access to the kitchen, and then had my own private bedroom. Is that a similar experience that your renters are
Yeah,
having?
yeah, exactly. And the reason why it's such a huge market is we're renting out each room for about 600 or 700 per month, while the on-campus charges like 1,200 per month typically. And they have to live with a roommate versus you get your own private room. Plus, you also have to pay for a meal plan, parking, you have to pay for that as well, and it's hard to find a lot of times. So for us, parking's very readily available. You have your own private room. You're paying half the price of on-campus housing. So it's really a high-end demand market and very underutilized in my, from what I've seen. Like Airbnb, everyone's trying to get into it. It's getting saturated. But student housing has always been out there. And even during the recession in 2008, actually college enrollment went up during 2008 because people wanted to go back to school during recessions to gain more job skills and all of that, right? So this is a very recession-proof method, and I've always had high demand for my properties and well over like 95%, 100% occupancy, right?
That's fantastic. And so you're really providing a wonderful alternative for those students who are looking for affordable options, families that are trying to make ends meet while sending their kids off to school. So is
Yeah.
your focus to look in those college towns?
Yeah, typically I look for some of the top colleges out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ivy League colleges, but these are colleges that are competitive to get into. So most of the students that get in, they're very well-rounded students. They're really serious about their studies. A lot of them are in like pre-med, pre-pharmacy, pre-dentistry. They might be getting their engineering degree MBA, law degree. So I really target those types of students. And usually I primarily get graduate students as well because on-campus housing provides enough housing for undergrads, but they typically provide pretty much none or zero housing for graduate students. So for those like 3,000 grad students out there, there's a huge market for it, for people who are looking for affordable housing and don't have anything provided on campus. So I typically get a lot of the, pharmacists, dentists, medical doctors, nurses, etc. So yeah, that's what I target.
Fantastic. It's an amazing niche. And so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your strategy to find the properties. Like, what are you looking for? How do you identify the right properties for what you're trying to do?
Right. So I usually start with a cookie cutter 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom property. There's a lot of those out there. And I try to be as close to the campus as possible. So ideally within walking distance, but if not, within at least a 5-minute driving distance. The closer the better because students really value that convenience of being close to campus when they wake up for their 8 a.m. Classes, right? In the morning. They want to be as close as possible. So I really look for that. And I also look for houses that are large enough that I can add extra bedrooms. So I'll take this 3 bedroom house, 2 bathroom, and I'll add 3 extra bedrooms to make it into a 6 bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, which is fine because as long as you maintain a 3 person to 1 bathroom ratio, usually students don't mind that. So I have about 6 students per house, and I charge anywhere from 700 to 600 to $700 per room. So that leads to about 3,600 to $4,200 on every rental that I have for that as a 6 bedroom rental. And usually the mortgage payment on that, it just depends on what market you're in. If you're buying a house in the 200, $300,000 price range, the mortgage will be around 1,500 to 1,800 per month. And then if you're buying higher than that, like 400K range, it might be a little bit more like a low $2,000 range. But if you're making 4,200 on your rental, 4,200 minus, let's say you have other expenses, 4,200 minus 2,000 is still over 2,000 a month in cash flow.
So this is just fascinating. So you're able to completely cover your expenses above and beyond renting it to a couple or to a family and keeping it as a 3-2. You're really able to maximize, in essence, it's a new way of looking at the highest and best use of the land.
Yeah, exactly. And adding 3 extra bedrooms to a 3 bed, 2 bath house usually doesn't cost as much as you would think. It's usually just framing and drywall. And I've been able to put in each bedroom for about 1,500 per bedroom, to $2,500 per bedroom, and that pays for itself in just a few months, right?
Oh,
Because
sure.
every person is paying 600 or 700. Like if they're paying 700 3 months, that's like 2,100. So after 3 months, you already make back the cost of putting in that extra bedroom, and then after that, it's just gravy, right?
So, Ryan, where are you looking? What are some of the college towns, the cities where you're focusing your investment strategy?
Yeah, so I'm based in Sacramento, California. I actually have a house hack here and I rent out to Sacramento State students. I'm also in Stockton where I invest in near my alma mater school where I went to pharmacy school. And I also invest in there's one in Huntsville, Alabama, and I have one in a couple in Cleveland as well. So I'm all over the place, but I started off by just investing in one school in Stockton, California, and I scaled up to 6 properties before I actually started investing out of state. And what I was able to do around year 6 was sell the very first property that I bought, and I used that money to 1031 exchange to all the other properties out of state that I purchased.
Wow, that is an awesome success story. And I need to mention to you, you might not know this, but I began my real estate career in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, no way.
So
What a
many of
coincidence.
my tenants, because I started investing in duplexes in 1993.
Hmm.
I had a duplex
Wow.
in Shaker Heights, and we
Yeah,
always had Case Western Reserve University grad students.
sure.
We had uh, visiting professors. We
Right.
had medical students who were doing their residencies or their internships at
Right.
the Cleveland Clinic or university hospitals.
Mhm.
So, where are you in the Cleveland market?
Yeah, pretty much nearby to Cleveland Clinic. So, same story. Very good students, very good set of tenants. I'm sure you already know, but yeah, they've been the best students that I've had, so far.
That's fantastic. And now you have taken the logical next step, which is you're helping other people implement a similar strategy and you've created a coaching program. Let's talk about that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I coach people one-on-one through a 6-month program, and I meet twice a month through one-on-one calls just like this. And basically, we go through everything from deal analysis, how to actually identify these deals that are going to make a significant amount of cash flow. In case something breaks down, you're easily able to cover it, right? We also look at what's the market demand. How much are students willing to pay in that specific market? Every market will be a little bit different, but all students are looking for affordability. So even if you're with like $20 off from what their budget is, let's say they say their budget is 650, but you're charging 670, in their heads they're like, "Oh, that's out of my budget," right? But, for us, we're very flexible with their budgets and we try to meet it wherever it's at. So or sometimes they can come up a little bit and we meet halfway. So I provide like coaching through that whole process, how to really determine what specific neighborhoods to invest in as well, kind of the ones that students talk about through the grapevine. Because, yeah, if you think about it, a student will typically ask the upperclassman student, where should I live off campus, right? And so you really want to get into what students are talking about as the primary areas that are safe, that they enjoy living in, right? So I kind of walk you through that whole process and the renovations, the marketing, and the management of it as well.
And that's very, very helpful because the learning curve, as you already experienced with that first property, the
Oh,
learning curve can be steep.
oh yeah, definitely. Just getting into real estate investing in general, there's definitely a steep learning curve. I learned a lot along the way. That first house, like I said, I had lost about $30,000. But at the end of the day, I kind of had a lot of appreciation on the house, so it basically saves you. Real estate is a very forgiving game, but at the beginning, you want to make sure you do it right because you can make a lot of errors in judgment that lead you to investing more and more money into a house. And it might be money you don't have, right? So at the very beginning, I had to be very thrifty. My second house I bought, I put only a 10% down payment on it as a secondary home. And so I had to be very careful with the money, especially at the beginning. And so, yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to save people a lot of money. Even one repair that could cost $10,000 obviously makes up for the cost of the mentorship and everything like that.
Well, the interesting thing about real estate, and you and I agree, it is the best path to generational wealth that any of us can really ever enjoy.
Yes.
But what I've always loved about real estate is that it's a very able investment.
Yeah.
It is mortgageable, it
Hmm.
is rentable, it is improvable. Whenever you need to, it's transferable.
Hmm.
You can actually look at your mutual funds, you can look at your investments, your retirement account, but you can't really go down to Home Depot and do anything to improve those.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can make improvements to your rental properties.
Hmm.
And with the benefit of an overall market appreciation, you're going to have some real gain there over time. And it is a very forgiving investment when you make all the best decisions you can every step along the way.
Right. Exactly. It's you make money in several ways, right? Not just appreciation, but also your tenants paying down the loan. Some of that goes towards the principal every month. You have a lot of tax savings. You have the cash flow. You can renovate it to improve it to increase force appreciation. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing with Play-Doh, right? You can make it however you want. For me, I'm like, oh, I want to add a bedroom here. Can we do this, right? Can I add this here and then I'll get another $600 per month in cash flow. And so, if the Play-Doh doesn't work out or it turns out weird, you can always, start again. wrap it up into a ball and then begin again. So it's really flexible in that sense.
It's a really phenomenal game that more people should get into because you can start part-time. You can start with it as just a low risk investment, one property, take your time, get it
Yes.
right. It's cash flowing, it's appreciating over time. And then very quickly, that can be the springboard for the next one.
Yeah.
It just continues on and on. And before you know it, you have 10 properties, or like you were able to retire from a very professional and lucrative career as a pharmacist.
Yeah.
And then, in essence, create a lifestyle that is on your terms.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, what's great about it is you get to choose your tenants and everything too. So, and you're providing a service, so you're giving back as well and creating a community. And I really love that aspect of it. And let's say, I don't have a lot of college students, I can always pivot and have some working professionals, hospital workers, right? Or I can even, let's say I throw it all out and I do Airbnb, right? I can use the same asset to do multiple things. If one thing doesn't work, I try something else, right? And so that's the cool part about real estate. But for me, I'm primarily college student housing and local like clinics and hospital workers.
We have some people who invest in similar types of properties that they then rent out to visiting nurses.
Yeah.
And so a visiting nurse will be in town for 2 or 3 months for an assignment, and she just needs a room. And there's another visiting nurse in the other room. And so
Mhm.
together it all works out really well. And they can pay nicely,
Yeah.
and they're very professional. They're just, in a way, a bit nomadic. And so they're looking for something clean and nice and reasonably priced. And so there you are providing something that may not otherwise exist in the local market.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good niche to get into, travel nursing. I've done it too. If you think about it, it's much cheaper for them to rent with you than pay like $200 a day at a local hotel. That's like $6,000 at the end of the month. If you can offer something half of that, it's going to be very attractive to them.
Absolutely. Plus, it'll give them a little bit more of a sense of their own place at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, where was it in your journey that you decided, hey, this is something that I could teach to other people? This is a coaching program that I could create. What did that look like for you, Ryan?
Yeah, so when I went into work, I had kind of it was a little bit rough. I had a manager who was very micromanaging, and I was like, I don't see myself doing this until I'm in my 60s because I had pharmacists that I talked to that were in their 50s and 60s, and they're like, we wish we could have retired like 10 years earlier to really spend that time on things we want to do, like being there for their kids, rather than letting their childhood slip away, right? And so they had a lot of regrets. And I was like, I don't want to regret anything in my life, right? I want to be able to at least make work optional for me. If I want to cut down to part-time 20 hours a week or even one day a week or whatever my goal is, I could do that. At least I have that flexibility with real estate because I have that supplemental income that replaces my salary. Um, so I always found it like I'm trying to create more options for myself in life. And, I could choose to stay if I wanted to, but at the same time, I could always retire and pursue other things I'm passionate about. Maybe I want to spend more time with my kids or with family, in general. And so that's kind of why I wanted to get into it. And I found other people wanted the same thing as me. So I was like, hey, I can probably help them through this because I've had around year 6 I had like 6 rentals under my belt already, and I repeated the same process and it was very consistent, very like pretty much guaranteed cash flow of 1,500 or 2,000 a month or whatever per house. And so I was like, I really want to teach this to others because it was so impactful and powerful for me, and I know there are others just like me who are like sick of working their 9 to 5, or they don't want to be doing it for the rest of their life, and they want to have more options.
And so you're offering that coaching to other people. Tell us about where would someone go to learn about that?
Yeah, so you can get my free PDF. It goes over, it's kind of like a guide on how to get started in student housing. But you also get on my newsletter and you can contact me through email that way. It's at www.newbierealestateinvesting.com. That's www.newbierealestateinvesting.com/guide. And then newbie is spelled Newbie.
Perfect. This is so exciting because to me, one of my journeys has always been for people to understand the wealth building opportunities of residential real estate. We can't all just get into an apartment building. We can't all get into warehouses, car washes, storefronts. That might be well out of our reach and also outside of our expertise. And yet,
Exactly.
buying a single family home is pretty much within reach for anyone who sets that as a goal.
Yeah, exactly. I used all my own money. I basically just kept reinvesting it. And I was, again, working as a pharmacist, working a lot of overtime to really save up as much as I can to purchase the first one. The second one was a little bit of a stretch. Like I said, I was only able to put 10% down at the beginning. But then, it kind of just scaled from there because I just had every single house I bought, I had some cash flow, a good amount of cash flow, and I just reinvested that into the next one. And so I was able to buy properties a lot faster as I went along. I would actually increase my income every time I bought one.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now? Do you have a goal or a vision for that?
Yeah, I think I used to say like, oh, those people do hundreds of deals. I don't want to do that. But I really created a system and now I actually have a team, some virtual assistants, local management, local lenders and realtors, etc. So I feel like I'm right at 15 properties now. But I'd like to get to 100. I mean, why not, right? Shoot for the moon.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I think at that point it would be a good couple million a year actually in cash flow if I wanted to go all the way to 100. But yeah, I set that as a goal. I love doing what I do. I love providing really good housing for students, and I feel like a lot of students appreciate it. And I'm providing a very good service. I still get a lot of letters from students saying thank you so much for providing such amazing housing for my son or daughter, or even the students themselves, right? Thank you so much for providing amazing housing for me during the 3 years I was here or whatever.
That's
So it's
wonderful.
yeah, it's like giving back. You feel like a sense of giving back and the fulfillment in this market for sure.
Well, especially when you're an individual investor like yourself, you actually know who these people are.
Yeah, you do.
And then they feel like if you call, if as the renter, if they were to call you as the landlord owner, you're actually aware of who they are. You know about that corner of the house, and if they're concerned about something going on with the gutter, you actually can envision what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
exactly.
very personal compared to corporate housing, the
Right.
larger, hedge funds that are investing in housing. They don't have anywhere near that level of interaction
Yeah.
or, in my opinion, understanding and compassion for their tenants.
Right. Yeah, I actually had a past student that was living at one of my houses ask me, hey, he found out that I was working at Kaiser Permanente. It's one of the hospitals in California, and I was working a pretty good job. I was an infectious diseases pharmacist, and he was like wondering, hey, I want to do that. I want to do what you do. What do you recommend? Should I get in? What organization should I get into? What sort of healthcare outreach should I be doing? What do you recommend for my interviews and all of that? So I was able to give him a huge list of, I think he asked me like 10 questions and I just, answered all of them. And I was able to get on the phone with him and everything and really kind of help guide him through pharmacy school because he was going through the same school that I was. And I was able to basically help the next guy. And so, I feel like I give back a lot through that and I get a lot of joy out of doing that too.
That's wonderful. Well, Ryan, that's what it's all about is just sort of reaching down and lifting up the next generation behind us,
Yeah.
helping them have success and guiding them along the way. And so when you're doing that by providing housing, that's one part. But then when you're actually able to help them with a little bit of career counseling and guidance in their career path, well, that's a
Yeah.
whole nother thing as well. So it's really fantastic what you're doing.
Yeah, it's true. These students are our future. So, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. And they're just looking for the best option out there. And if your housing can be the best option out there, then you're never going to be struggling.
yeah, exactly. And I really cater towards students, provide them what they need, high-speed internet. I provide all the furnishings. I basically make their life easy so that they can focus on studying, right? And then they really appreciate it. And usually every one of them will have like three, four, or five friends, and then they'll refer those friends to me. And I guess I have sort of a reputation in my local markets. I was recently told that yeah, a lot of people know your name as the guy who has housing that's very close to the campus and is all fully furnished and provides everything. So once you start building a brand for yourself, you basically just get referrals all the time. And a lot of times, I mean, I get more referrals than I have housing available every year. So yeah, just establish a good brand and build your reputation up.
It's interesting. I had so many of my tenants, they would tell me who I should rent it to next. They already had the tenant lined up for
Oh,
me.
nice. Yeah, I get that a
And
lot.
it
Yeah.
sounds like you're doing that as well. So, if somebody wanted to learn more about your coaching program and your unique strategy and approach, they'll go to newbierealestateinvesting.com.
Yeah. Slash guide. Yeah.
And that's for the free guide about the student housing. That's wonderful.
Right.
Anything else you'd like to share? Any other ways in which people can connect with you, Ryan?
No, that's the main way. Once you put in your email, you'll get an email from me, and then you can respond to that email with all of your questions. And if you want to
That's
connect further.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. My hat's off to you. I admire what you're doing. And at your young age, you're what now, 32?
32. That's right.
And you've got the whole future ahead of you. And yet, with this fascinating strategy that really will never go away, it'll always be an in-demand housing need. And so
Yeah.
when you pick that niche, you're going to get rich and you're on your
Yeah.
path already. So that is wonderful. Hey,
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today on the Realty Funnels podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
You as well, Kevin. Thank you so much.